Good afternoon, YouTube. So this cage here on the bottom is for the 100 amp hour Li-Time mini lithium iron phosphate battery, and it'll slide in through the back here. So this whole thing is meant to then push up against the side of the bed in the back of the 4Runner, and then I'll have a couple of screws through here into threaded inserts on the bed rail. So there's a screw there, one over here, and then I also added one tab down at the bottom because the way this sits, this corner is on the wheel well, but this corner over here just sort of hangs in space because the wheel well isn't flat. This one screw over here will go into the plywood bedside. That'll do two things. One is it'll support the side of this so that it doesn't twist. And then also this one screw here will help to support the plywood because I've got mainly screws along the top of the plywood, which the top of the plywood panel is about equal to this. So this way this cage will support the plywood and the plywood will support the cage. Yeah, and so the charge controller then mounts up here, and I can only go so high because the roll bar in the back of the 4Runner comes up here at an angle. This side is straight up and down, and that limits how high up you can go before this hits the roll bar. And I just have these screws in here. I was wondering how was I going to tighten these screws because they want to go into these slotted holes, and then the screw head is inside there. And how do you get to those screws to tighten them? But let's see, let me get them lined up. They're kind of a tight fit here. I got the biggest screw that I could get to fit in there. Yeah, I think that's all in place. But yeah, what I found that works really well is I put some nylon lock nuts on the end of the screws and just tighten the screw until the nylon part grabs the threads, and then I can use the nut to turn the screw. So I'm actually trying to loosen the nut, but because the nut is locked to the screw, if I try to loosen the nut, I'm actually screwing the screw in tighter. I don't need to really crank these down or anything. I just don't want them vibrating. This will be down on the wheel well. This is up at about the top of the bed rail. The charge controller will actually be a little above the bed rail, and then all my wiring has to come down off of here. So this was going to be my positive battery terminal. So I was going to screw this into the positive terminal, and then I have this machined aluminum piece and then a circuit breaker, and then I was going to have my positive bus bar over here. So let's see, this guy will be essentially right down there. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to those screws there because I was going to try to use a top mounted screw and then have the cables come out here. I'm thinking that might not work, or I might not have enough room. So what I may do instead is take this thing and I'll remake this piece so that it goes out this way towards the front, and then instead of having the screw come in this way, and I can put the screw in this way so that it's facing the front, and that way I can get in here with an Allen key, loosen the screw, hook up the terminals, and then tighten it down, and I can have the cables come off this way. So I would end up with the positive and negative posts being under the charge controller but closer to the front instead of inside to the back, because it's just going to be too tight to get in there and work on anything. But anyway, yeah, if you have any other questions about that, post up in the comments section below. And as always, thanks for watching.